Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Places Will Go show with Mark and Ritchie, which is sponsored by the Marketing Skills Trust. Now, why is that particularly relevant today? Well, it's because we've got none other than the renowned Martin Troughton, who is in fact the chairman of the Marketing Skills Trust with us here today. Welcome, Martin.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Really well. Lovely to have you here, Martin. Now, I'm just going to tell our folks listening in a little bit about your career, and it certainly has been an illustrious one. You've traversed a lot, both client and agency side, as well as being a founder of none other than Harrison, Troughton and Wunderman, or HTW for short. Now, Martin has earned a stellar place across the marketing scene in the UK, having served as the marketing director for a number of renowned home improvement brands, as well as being the founding partner in Wunderman. Now, Martin actually learned his marketing craft at Ogilvy and was also the head of direct marketing for BT. Now, today, Martin has taken quite a turn in his career and is currently in the chair position at the Marketing Skills Trust, which is an organization that truly has the marketing industry's best interests at heart. The trust literally and proudly funds many worthy causes to help level up our industry and make it more equitable, fair, and diverse. All of those things that we can absolutely all benefit from. So really looking forward to hearing a bit more about the Marketing Skills Trust as well in this conversation. So Martin, it's an absolute genuine pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. No, it's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I would absolutely reinforce what Richie has said, and there's a huge alignment, obviously, between Marketing Skills Trust and School of Marketing and this show. So fabulous to have you on. And I'm just going to get us started with. I can't believe it's February. Where did January go? I mean, speeding clock and all that, but 2024 seems to have started with like a rocket. So how's it been for you so far?
Yeah, it's been great. I'm working with a few companies. We've had a great board meeting at Marketing Skills Trust. So all sorts of different things. And I managed a little trip over to Italy as well. So yeah, it's kind of, because it was cold here. There was times it was freezing, wasn't it? But it's been good. It's been very good.
I'm just going to quick follow up. Like, we did talk in the green room about Italy. So let's just get that out of there. Just tell us a little bit about your relationship with Italy.
Oh, I've always loved Italy. Always loved Italy. And my wife and I have been traveling there. Well, we've been married over 30 years. So we've been traveling there since before that. And now I'm lucky enough to spend a lot of time out there, mostly in Tuscany, around Florence area. So love it. I spent 3 months. And now, post-COVID, where I am, I could be in Italy now. We could be doing this in Italy. We could be doing it doesn't matter. Zoom has opened so many doors for us. So I do quite a bit of work out there, as well as just enjoying the culture and the environment.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Martin, you did allude to the fact that you had a great board meeting this month. And the Marketing Skills Trust is a wonderful organization. So perhaps tell us a little bit about some of the key themes that came from some of those discussions and what is sort of top of mind to the Marketing Skills Trust at the moment.
Well, obviously supporting your good selves. But the Marketing Skills Trust has been going for quite a while now. It was set up as a legacy fund for Derek Calder, who was the founder of the Institute of Direct Marketing. Wonderful guy who had education at his heart for the industry. When he passed away, a sizable amount of money was put into a fund to invest in the future education of the industry, and in particular bring in more diverse and interesting talent into the industry and helping upskill the industry. So we do all sorts of things, from grant giving at universities to helping fund the development of courses at university, to helping make sure your great activity continues. We work with the DMA, so we match fund, and so anybody sponsoring the DMA to do something like creative data courses are coming up, we match fund that. So rather than do 1 or 2 of them, they can do 2, 4 of them or something like that. So we do that. When COVID came along, we made a huge investment in the DMA to make sure that they could upskill people who've been furloughed and run training courses for all of that. We've got hundreds of people through that to bring them into the marketing industry. So all sorts of different things. It's I suppose it's giving something back a little bit. So there's a great board of people, all of which are very genuine. None of us are paid. We're all doing it to try and put something back a little bit. And it's to make a more inclusive and skilled talent pool for the future.
I mean, honestly, what you do is so important because obviously the thing about marketing is it's a bit tricky to get into for many, and it doesn't have a archetypal professional structure like accountancy or law, for example. And so there is no playbook. And so I think people get a little bit lost. I mean, how do you perceive the skills gap in the industry more broadly?
Well, there is, even if you enter the industry, that continuous learning is not deeply ingrained enough. That it changes so much as an industry. And also, marketing's such a broad term. One of the things we're doing at the moment is we're going to add some content to our own website, which kind of guides people by, well, what is marketing? What are the various roles? What might you be suited towards? I mean, I stumbled into marketing. I kind of did it at university as a module in a business degree, and I liked it. I got into it. I loved that balance between the art and the science. I know it's a cliche, but I see that balance between numbers and pictures, and I always loved that. But I really got into it, I suppose, because a careers officer at the university, when I was floundering with what shall I do, the careers officer, just parked me in front of a computer and said, just answer that. Just yes, no, this or this. And it kind of was a whole set of questions. And it was things, do you prefer pictures or numbers? Do you like this? Do you like this? What do you like? Do you like to go to a gallery? Would you rather read a book? It was a really random set of questions. And at the end of it, seriously, it said, you would make a great direct marketer. And it's like, what? I don't even know what direct marketing is. I know what marketing is, but direct marketing, what's that? And then it gave me a sentence underneath telling me why I'd be good at it. And it was saying, because you seem to have a passion for both numbers and pictures. And I was like, okay, I kind of do, it's fine. But it gave me this statement, which I basically parroted at every interview for the next, 2 or 3 interviews. And one of them hit. I got there was an agency called Clark Hooper. I went to that one. There was and I was lucky enough to get on the O&M Direct. So not the Ogilvy advertising, the O&M Direct graduate training program. And I've never looked back with it. It was fabulous. Fabulous.
I think we all share that sentiment, right? Just love for this industry. And it really, what you just described there in Drayton's words, it just epitomizes us, right? It's I think in some respects, we balance out a slightly chaotic industry with a sense of structure too. And of course, direct marketing is probably the more structured end of the advertising spectrum, shall we say. So are you a structure kind of guy, or do you like a bit more sort of chaos, go with the flow?
Oh, it's a great question. I probably do like a bit more structure. Yeah, I do. I do like the creative leap I adore, but I like it to come within the straitjacket of a tight brief. Yeah. And, you can call it straitjacket, you can call it life jacket, I don't care. But if you don't know what you're trying to achieve in that brief, you've not got a clear direction. And some of the tightest briefs, from the smallest opportunities, the greatest work has come in my career, definitely. And they look the smallest opportunities. I remember I've got stuff littered around the office. I'll show you. But it is just, some of those small opportunities. Wow, the creativity. So on the Friday of my first week, last year's graduates took out this year's graduates. So, I've known Rory since the first working week of my career. It was amazing. It was an amazing hotbed of great talent.
Obviously Rory's been on the show. I can't imagine Rory as a graduate trainee. For me, he's also
You asked me about chaos. Oh my God. Because at that stage, he was an account handler. Terrible.
Not even an account guy, no way.
He was an account, I'll tell you, he probably didn't tell you, but he was an account handler who was terrible. Because Ogilvy was very structured. And Rory is just so articulate. He was he's a graduate trainee. You're in the meeting to set the meeting up, yeah? Rory would take over the meetings with clients. And there was one occasion where the clients were, it was like, he was going off on an angle, and I'm sure it was amazing, but he was going off on an angle, and his account director was trying to pull him back. And Rory, tea. I said, pull the tea. And he went, 2 sugars, please. And just going on.
So he didn't change much through the years then, to be fair. So,
well, he became a planner for a little while.
Yeah.
He was terrible at that. And then he got fired at O&M Direct because it was like, what do we do with this? And the creative department rebelled. They said, you can't fire him. No, he's a talent. We love him. You can't fire him. And that's when he became a copywriter.
This is a revelation. This is like a moment where Philip Kotler told us that it wasn't going to be the peas until
Really?
like, Rory was an account guy and then a planner. Anyway, you've held very senior marketing leadership positions. Tell me about what's the balance for you in terms of, as a leader, being liked versus respected?
I've always been quite outspoken. So I've always been, it's better to get it out and say what it is. It is just work. There's never any malice in it. It's always about being straight talking and saying what you believe. I was fortunate to be in that unloved niche of direct marketing. Yeah, so direct marketing at that stage, technology had not really taken off at that stage, So direct marketing was some of the hard miles. And our advertising lobbyists, bless them, were living in a more exalted environment. So, for example, when I was at BT, I accelerated so quickly because I was doing the stuff that no one else wanted to do. I was in an environment where they're packed full of talent, but they were all interested in an SB ad. And then we ran a big pitch. AMV won it, Abbott Mead, David Abbott, in a solo pitch of genius proportion. And he came up with the It's Good to Talk campaign with Bob Hoskins. So he presented that. But of course, beneath that, they needed someone to do the direct marketing for it. But I stepped. And I loved it. So I did all of that amazing umbrella branding. I was delivering it on a one-to-one basis underneath. And, so they did the It's Good to Talk. I ran a program underneath It's Good to Talk, but now we'd like to listen. And it was all about reciprocated confidences, which was at the heart of that brand. So we reciprocated confidence. I tell you a little bit, you tell me a little bit, we move on, and that's how a relationship grows. So I did lots of that work. It was just packed full of talent. So I was doing the hard stuff as far as they were concerned, so they respected me. But I loved it. I was working with supreme talent.
Martin, I
like that unloved niche. Sorry.
Well, look, I was going to pick up on that actually. Interestingly, and you talked about it. Nice turn of phrase, the unloved niche, as it were. But you also said doing the stuff that nobody else wanted to do. And I think that's quite interesting from a career perspective because you were able to elevate yourself beyond perhaps your peers as a consequence of putting yourself in that area. And I wonder if there's a bit of career advice in here. In that, is it the case of picking up things that perhaps maybe sit on other people's, say, unpassioned points or, I don't know, too hard boxes, whatever you might want to call it in terms of phrase. But what would you say is the advice that you've learned as a consequence of doing stuff that nobody else wanted to do?
Yeah, no, the hard miles. Do go volunteer for the hard miles. Do that work. It is, it's the way to success. If you make people's life easier around you, you do the things and you do them with diligence. Don't see them as drudgery. Everything is an opportunity to shine, and that opportunity. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I love databases. I love, well, what if we knew that about people? Couldn't we do this? Couldn't we do, and just those leaps, and just very passionate about it. And it's so much easier now. So much easier. I mean, those days, we were sending out a questionnaire. Hopefully they'd send it back with some tick boxes. We thought it was high tech where it would be a scanner reading that and loading it into a database. I mean, for God's sake, what we can do now with CRM and all of the systems that we've got to reciprocate that confidence. If they tell you this, we can tell you that. I ran a program for Safeway when I was at Bates Dorland. I was the MD at Bates Dorland, Bates Communications. And Safeway was our client. And their biggest problem was they were getting too good at changing their stores. They were advancing so quickly. They kept reformatting and bigger fresh food departments, a fish department, of this. Well, that meant people were getting lost in the shop all the time. Because you know what it's like. You go to a supermarket, you know where everything is. Well, they kept moving it around. It was driving everyone mad, and they were losing their customers because they were getting better. So what we did, we sent a program almost inviting people to tell us how it could be improved. And then we would be doing it. Now, we knew what we were going to be doing. We were really doing things they wanted. You know, would you like old stinky fish, or do you want a fresh fish department? Do you want a bigger fresh food department? Well, who doesn't? You know, all of these things. But we were asking them. And then we would put up the big posters of the survey for that store and why we now need to change it for you. Yeah, we're changing it for you, not, it's not being changed and annoying you. You've asked for this and we're delivering it for you. Now, with technology, we can just speed this whole process of you've talked and we've listened. And it works so well.
Well, this is really the full circle for me, which is the unloved niche to really now, with the advancement of technology, I mean, kind of performance marketing is top of the tree.
Yeah.
And it's actually, from the Lovia brand side is sort of now trying to find a rearguard action to get more prominence. So it's done a big 180. What's your perspective on that meta dynamic between performance marketing and brand marketing?
Well, I still think the big idea is the big idea and needs to be, and you need that umbrella. I wouldn't have developed the work of at BT without the it's good to talk, environment, and vision. I mean, that was do you remember the logo, the Piper? Do you remember the BT logo being a Piper? It was there for a little while. Anyway.
Somewhere in the stored memory structures, yes.
And it was basically a Piper communicating, and the other hand was listening. And it was that you've talked, we've listened. That whole reciprocated confidence exchange, that worked. That was its umbrella.
Like you said, right, often insights get lost in the organization as we swirl them around our departments and our processes and often bureaucracy that comes along with it. But I want to turn the page once again to your role when it comes to trying to create a more equitable and diverse industry. I think it's incredibly important, not just for the individuals who may benefit, but for our industry at large. And perhaps wonder why you do it. What's the intrinsic motivation that has stemmed that's kind of piqued your passion in this area?
There's a simple answer. I was asked to, and I thought it was a great idea. Now, I remember Derek, and I was fortunate enough to be, around when he was at his pulp and doing amazing work, and he was an inspiring character. He probably helped my career in its early days. I know he helped lots and lots of people. I want his legacy to continue. I just think it's important. I mean, Steve and I, as an agency, HTW, one of the things we prided ourselves on, that it was a learning culture. So, for example, any book, if you bought a book, expenses, because you were enriching your mind. So everybody was encouraged, and it was almost embarrassing if you didn't buy a book. Are you not? You're not interested in learning, and that culture would take away the barrier. If it's money that's the problem, no, expensible item, books, no problem, and tell people about them. So it became that upward spiral, enriching people. And I think that work-life balance. I mean, again, we were probably a little bit ahead of our time. We paid people double when they went on long holidays. So if you went for a week, no problem. You can go off a week holiday or a couple of days, that's fine. You go for a long holiday, we'll pay you double so that you can go further, experience more, refresh yourself more and come back. So we paid that double so that they could go on holidays. Now, there's a commercial aspect to that as well, because if you run an agency, you know that if someone goes away for a week and you take over their work, you don't really need to do anything. Just tell them he'll be back on Monday. That's the only phrase you need. But if you go away for 2 weeks, you better understand what's going on. And the handover's more thorough. The work continues while the person's away. Commercially, it works for us as a business, and it works for the individual. So there was both a cultural, and I tell you what, whenever you interviewed someone, the only thing they ever remember you said was, "We pay you double when you go on holiday." And they went, "What?" What? But so it helped us attract the talent. It was true to the DNA of the business, and it was commercially sensible because we did a better job for our clients.
Love it. Now, Ritchie and I have also both been in a world where you had to take 2-week holidays. This was at HSBC, and it was because if a bank manager was running some fraud, it meant that they had a better chance of revealing that.
Okay.
And so therefore everybody had to take 2 weeks. There was a terminology for it. Ritchie will remind me in a moment. But anyway, I mean, what a genius idea. I mean, I feel like I've missed out in my career not getting paid double for going on holidays. I mean, yeah,
you've been robbed.
What an employer value proposition. But lifelong learning, enriching people, I mean, it's the thread that runs through everything that you're doing. I'm interested, what are you still learning? What have you still yet to learn?
Oh, well, just the pace of change. The pace of change. If you decide you're not going to learn, yeah. I mean, you're just in trouble. I remember. Look, I'm full of anecdotes, aren't I? But anyway, when we started our agency in 1998, it's not long ago, is it? 25 years. We had our 25th anniversary. 25 years ago, we had 3 partners: Steve Harrison, Tim Patton, and myself. We sat around. We were backed by Rainey Kelly, the advertising agency. We sat down and what are we going to do? How are we going to get out? And Tim went, "Well, we better set up our website and our email address." And Steve and I looked at each other and went, "Why? What do we need that for?" I said, "I've had an email address for years, and I've only ever had a few internal ones on it. There's only 3 of us. We can talk to each other. We don't need that." And Tim's like, no, this is going to be big. We need this. Imagine that conversation now. And it is not long ago. The pace of change. If I look at what we can do with CRM and integrations into mail engines, and oh my God. And I'm learning every day on this stuff. So you've got to keep up. You've got to keep listening to listening to your work, tuning into seminars. Just listen to people who know more than you, because there's a lot of them around. There's always a lot of them about.
It's wonderful that you say that. And actually, one of the things that, me and Mark have been doing this now for coming up to 3 years or so. And it's wonderful to be able to hear people's insights, week in, week out. And it literally is as much of a learning curve for us as it is for everybody else, hopefully listening in as well. Can I talk about a little bit of a bugbear that I have in this industry? And I want to get your take on this. And it's actually originating from the Advertising Association's annual report. I think it's called Level Up. And it talks to how certain fractions of our society do better than others in the marketing industry, And of course, we know there are both diversity gaps, gender gaps, socioeconomic gaps as well. And so my yin and yang in our industry is such that all of us feel like we need to do a better job of getting better representation into our industry. And yet something that you alluded to was when they're here, often they get disillusioned. And it's a consequence of maybe not finding a cultural fit with organizations, or indeed not being able to get up the ladder as quick as others, or of course, even in and around benefits and pay. And so my yin and yang is, on the one hand, we're trying to do a better job of getting more diverse and equitable elements into our industry, and yet there seems to be such a divide still carrying on. And so I kind of almost feel bad for trying to get people in when the stats show that they may not be as happy as others when they're here. And I'd love to get your take on that, Martin. How do you see the world in this respect? And how do you see us being able to change the industry for the better?
Well, I mean, irrefutable what you're saying, that there are issues and those stereotypes pervade. But there are exceptions to every one of them as well. And yeah, I think we've got to give people a chance. We've got to open up their eyes to the opportunities within the industry, because it's an amazing industry, from digital planning to, classical planning, go and work learn at the feet of Andy Nairn and Lucky Generals. I mean, how fortunate would you be? But the wonderful thing I've always found about the industry, though, is the meritocracy that it is. If you shine, you excel, and back to what we were talking about earlier, don't turn your nose up at, the small tasks, the little things, and don't get too big for your boots as well. That's always, I remember being a graduate trainee again at Ogilvy, and I was clearly getting too big for my boots. I'm amazing. It's great. Look, all these things I've learned. And I remember that David Watson, who was the Watson out of Craig Jones Mitchell Watson, he tapped me on the shoulder in the morning and said, "Martin, I need your help. Can you come and see me about 1 o'clock?" It's like, "Yeah, David, of course you need my help. I'll be there. No problem." And I'm thinking, what pitch does he need? Some insight on something or other. So I went to see him, and on time, 1 o'clock on the dot. And he said, "Oh, great, Martin, thank you." And he gave me his dry cleaning ticket and asked me to go and collect his dry cleaning. And it's like, oh, okay. But even that, you got to do with a spring in your step. Go and he's the boss, And he was just bringing me back down to reality. So take every opportunity that comes your way, whether it's collecting the dry cleaning or giving the insight on the pitch. Whatever it is, do it. But this industry is a meritocracy. The talent definitely rises. There's constraints, but shrug them off, but point out the inequity as well. When it's wrong, it's wrong. I mean, the debate that was on that campaign headline this week about amazing account men. I mean, come on, we're beyond that. We've moved on. This is just nonsense. And I think it was rightly called out. And you've got to call out the inequity. But it is an amazing industry, and it does value talent more than most places. I mean, I was head of direct marketing 4 years out of university at BT. I had a £60 million budget. I had a serious case of imposter syndrome, by the way, but it got me there. And then and sometimes you do need to step back. If you're in the wrong environment, take a step back, take a step aside, get out of that poisonous environment, but keep focused and keep belief in your own talent.
I love that.
It is meritocracy, more work to be done for sure. I mean, careers are roller coasters though, and ups and downs, ins and outs. And many people listening in will be at crossroads moments and maybe not particularly happy. I mean, let's see what some of the learnings you've had from the things that didn't go perfectly.
I mean, there's lots of things. I'm much more zen than I used to be. I was much more reactive, and that was a mistake. You don't need to react to every situation. Just internalize it a bit and let it go a little bit. Don't ruin tomorrow because of what happened today. Let it go a little bit. And that's good. Because. And also try and understand what was going on that's made you unhappy. What they've done, because you chose to be unhappy. Nobody makes you unhappy. You chose to react with unhappiness. And once you start to learn and detach what's going on and your emotion to it, you're gonna be a better person and a lot more sanguine. Because you decide. You decide whether you're happy or sad. Whether you're a winner or a loser, whether you're moving on, it's your decision. What other people's opinions, they come and go, don't they? It's not a worry. And my career has been, when I was head of direct marketing, I definitely felt I was out of my depth. And I went back to Ogilvy and I did some more hard miles, so I had some depth to it because I needed more depth in my career in order to survive. So, yeah, do that. And then always always choose to work with the best. Don't accept mediocrity. Demand of yourself and those around you to be their best, and just choose to work with the best. I worked with Steve Harrison. He's the best. He was the best. I look back and think I was fortunate to work with that man. And I look back across my career at people I've worked with, and I've been very, very fortunate. Whether it was Rory in its early days, or even my last boss. My last boss was a guy called Mike Gallagher. He was the chief exec. I was his marketing director. What a guy! He was, really principled. He was ex-army, Santos, bomb disposal, SAS. It's like, oh, I'm not messing with you, am I? What do you want me to do? I'm doing it straight away. But no, the guy was just, he taught me that detachment a lot more. Really, really honed in on that. So slow your response down, grow a bit of a thicker skin and keep your focus.
Oh,
how many cliches did I do there?
Well, I tell you what, slow your response down. I think that is such great advice. And often we only learn that sort of years later and later from our frantic selves as we were probably on graduate schemes moons ago. But you also said, don't ruin tomorrow because of what happened today, and have a level of detachment. Gosh, I can't imagine it gets much more detached when you're in the bomb disposal unit or some sort.
Yeah.
And you need to be a little bit more detached from what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Martin,
that did make him a bit of a problem to work with because he was very binary. Everything was the red wire or which one are we going to cut?
Wow.
It's like he was brilliant with data, terrible with a creative leap. Terrible because he didn't get that bit. How do you know it's going to work? Hey, 30 years of experience. I don't know. What can I tell you?
You talked about the different wires. It almost reminds me of the red and blue pill on the Matrix. But Martin, you've named some wonderful people that you've come across, worked with throughout your career. And I just wonder, we talk about technical skills, and of course, Marketing Skills Trust is doing a lot in that ability, even demystifying what careers could be and different roles. But what would you say is your take on the role of networking, and how important has it been throughout your career, and maybe some advice on great networking for people coming through?
Great question. I've tried to never burn bridges. You don't need to burn bridges. It's far too easy to kind of burn bridges behind you. Don't, and stay in touch. Value the people that you've worked with, that you learned from. But even if they were bad, you probably learned something. You don't need to burn any bridges through your career. Just keep going and stay in touch. It's never been easier. I mean, LinkedIn's genius. It's beautiful. I remember for my 50th birthday, I love wine, by the way. I'm a big wine fan, Italy again. But I created a bottle of wine, a barrel, for my 50th birthday. And I went through an exercise, which was, I'm 50. Who are the 50 most important and influential people in my life? And I just wrote a list of everybody through my career and went through it, and a bit, and family, of course, as well, all the way through it. And then on the label of that bottle of wine, I put all the initials in the concentric circles of a tree. And then it had a huge party, invited them all and said, thank you. Stay in touch, appreciate those that have helped you along your way. And they'll be there for you. That, and sometimes you kind of go, well, they only ever ring me when they need something. But, just stay in touch with people on your way through your career. But not only when you need them, be there for them as well. Wow.
Yeah, great advice. It's good to talk. Anyway, so Martin, I mean, it's gone by in a flash. Unfortunately, we're coming to the end. So perhaps the last question. I mean, this has been peppered with advice, but maybe what's the thing that you've not said so far in terms of that pearl of wisdom, that key piece of advice that will help people on their way in the spirit of everything that the Marketing Skills Trust is trying to achieve?
Well, I think it is about relationships. It's about people. Even if you go back to the question that Ritchie was talking about, about it being a meritocracy, It's not about a gender or ethnicity. It's about the soul of the person and their desire to achieve and to, you can find that everywhere and look for it. Look for the best. Hang on to it. Work with them. Work with the best you can and forget anything else that's surrounding that.
Fabulous, Mark. Well, it's been wonderful to have you on the show. I'm going to put a little bit of a bow on top for everybody, just in terms of some of the key learnings. It's quite condensed, or quite dense for me to do so, but I'll do my best.
So it's dense then, Mark.
Condensed. Sorry, my we try not to edit anything out. We'll probably leave that in. My faux pas. We talked to a little sojourn around Italy, but then got into the meat of it, the Marketing Skills Trust, filling the skills gap, encouraging continuous development, providing guidance, much needed in our industry. I'm going to just pull out one thing. You said that you fell into marketing, it felt a bit random. I mean that's the most sort of linear trajectory in that your careers advisory process would say you are a direct marketer and you became one. That seemed like almost sort of chat GPT-esque. Anyway, we talked about the straitjacket of a tight brief, freedom within a framework, structure versus chaos, a little dip into an insight into Rory, more in the chaos on the structure side. But anyway, the straitjacket of a tight brief. The distinction between being liked and respected, which took us into this area of an unloved niche. And sometimes there's great merit in doing the hard miles. But in the end, brand versus performance marketing, it's the big idea. It's back to bothism. Both feed off of each other. And I think it was good to be reminded of that. We heard about being paid double for holidays. I'm not going to dwell on that too much because it just annoys me that I missed out on that in my career. But we heard about you still learning. Keeping up with the pace of change, learning every day. That really does shine through. Love that. We talked about inclusion and not getting too big for your boots. Picking up dry cleaning. Yeah, I mean it's a thing, isn't it? We all have to stay grounded, and that will come back in a nutshell at the end. And we talked a bit about mistakes and letting it go. And you reminded me of a framework that came across years ago that says that between every stimulus and action is a choice. It is undeniable and inescapable. Talked a bit about networking and relationships and so on. So my in a nutshell for you, Mark, it's been great talking to you this morning. It's good to talk. I tried to do a little bit of alliteration, and to me, you come across as being happy. I think you're very content in what you've achieved. Very holistic. I mean, that is kind of the point of Marketing Skills Trust, helping people, helping the industry. And also humble. I was going to say wholehearted, but that was W, so it kind of works phonetically, but not. But you get the point. I think it's been a real pleasure talking to you this morning, Martin, and you've got a good heart and doing good things in the industry, and many people are benefiting from that. So thank you on behalf of our listeners for today.
Thank you. I much appreciate it. I've enjoyed talking. It's been good.